Boom! What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Fans of Something.
Yeah, it took me by surprise. Wow.
Yes, this is a big one for the channel because we are having not one but two very to us legendary guests on tonight. These are established performers in the entertainment industry that they've been in a plethora of projects between the two of them. Some of them I have in front of me here. We're going to show just a couple of these. Maybe you recognize this one, Aliens.
Maybe this one?
Titanic over here, Near Dark. We'll save this one for last. Of course, if you're a fan of this show right here, The Walking Dead. Also, have not seen this one, but we're going to show it anyways. It's a blind spot in my filmography, Heat over here. And of course, the one that brought them together for the first time. And we're going to find out if there's been anything other than this that they might have collaborated on. But of course, Terminator 2 Judgment Day. This is one of my all-time favorite films. And I'm pretty sure a lot of people's favorite film of all time. So a little history on how this came to be, because I'm sure some of you out there are going, how the heck did this even happen? So a few years back, I had Xander on my podcast for the first time. I reached out to him. He was kind enough to respond. We decided on a date to record the podcast, and we did it. And that turned out to be one of the most honest conversations that I had ever had with anybody. And it was also one of the most just enjoyable in terms of the audience reaction to it. A lot of people downloaded that episode. So
I'm listening to it.
Yeah. So stayed in touch with Xander. And initially we had reached out to Xander and Jeanette to do the Terminator 2 Judgment Day watch along that we had done
like forever ago.
Not that long ago. We had Jeff Dawn on, the makeup artist for that film, Peter Kent, Michael Edwards. And rightfully so. They wanted to do something else. They wanted to not specifically focus on just Terminator 2. And we'll get into that because, that's one of the things when you're a performer, there's other things that you want to talk about. So totally understand why that wasn't something that could happen. But luckily, we are here tonight, and we have Xander Berkeley and Jeanette Goldstein on the channel for the first time, and we're just hanging out. We're just it's gonna be a nice get together for them. I don't know when they spoke last, but it's gonna be a lot of fun. And of course, we're gonna see what you guys are saying in the chat room as well. Any questions? Please feel free, send them in, and we'll try to get to as many of them as possible. But without ado, we're going to bring in one at a time here, and we do have the drum roll, of course, because why not? You have to give them the drum roll. So we're going to bring in first, Xander here. So let us bring in the drum roll, ladies and gentlemen. It is Mr. Xander Berkeley. Hello, Xander.
How's it going?
Going good. How are you tonight? In Maine, right? You're in Maine.
Deep in Maine, yeah.
Oh my God.
That's like a bucket list thing for me to visit.
To get to Maine?
To get to Maine.
Yeah, it's the place to be as far as we're concerned, but it's a great place to escape to, so we don't want too many people coming up here.
And you are spearheading, because the last time we spoke is when I think this was in the works. You were really trying to get film production over into the area of Maine. And
we've got a big group that's formed called Picture Maine that's working with legislature and bill coming up. And hopefully we'll get competitive tax incentives up here, because I think it'll be a wonderful way to infuse the local economies of Maine without altering the character and the things that everybody loves about Maine. It's an environmental destination, and ours is one of the few industries that won't build a big infrastructure or clear cut the forests that are here that people love, and or tear down any of the architectural history, which is predominantly what the architecture is here, and rather sustain and maintain it through film.
Beautiful.
Put it on film and then walk away.
I love it. I love it. And the last time we spoke, you were working on, I believe it was a horror film that you were trying to get made. And did that ever turn out? Or was that just a script you were working on maybe?
I don't remember. There's been a lot of things. I got like 5 movies coming out and a couple of shows. So I can't really keep track, but pretty much everything that I set about to do has been happening at one place or another. I think horror as a genre that the area lends itself to, you know, H.P. Lovecraft and Stephen King. The fact that there's never been a Stephen King film produced and filmed in Maine
really
is a sin. And so we want to do that for sure at some point. But yeah, there's a lot of little stories to be told. The area is so historic, and so I think it really lends itself to an anthology series, maybe with a little bit of a scare to it. Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful. I love it. All right, now let us bring in someone that I have never interacted with prior to tonight. So I am very excited for this. And obviously you have quite the history with a good friend, right? A good friend.
Very good friend.
Very good friend. So that's
an ex-wife.
All right, so here we go. Give her the drum roll as well. Ladies and gentlemen, please help us welcome to Fans of Something, Miss Jeanette Goldstein.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Oh, it is so beautiful. First of all, let me switch things around here because this feels wrong. Let me put us down here. There we go. That's right. There we go.
Again, darling.
All right.
There we go.
I almost touch you. Wrong way. That way.
There we go.
You get the directional thing right on these.
Oh, this is so exciting. So, Jeanette, how are you today? Are you in Los Angeles?
I'm in Atlanta.
Oh, you're right up the road. We're in Savannah.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful.
Amazing.
I didn't know that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. We're in the sunny Savannah. Although tonight it's raining like crazy. I don't know if it's raining. And
it's not raining right now, but it's been raining all day. Yeah.
Yep.
It's been raining for the past week since I've been back here in Maine, and it was raining the entire time I was in Sacramento filming for 6 weeks.
It was crazy. California, it just never stopped raining. It was, yeah.
They needed it.
I know. That's what we always say. They needed it.
So this is very exciting. When was the last time the two of you saw each other in person?
You know,
it was Bill Paxton's celebration ceremony that Tom Huckabee put together with Jim Cameron. And that would have been it. I'm going to say 6 years, 5.
It was
before we moved, so I would say 6 years ago.
Yeah, it was at we saw Reach. Was it when they screened Reach? Were we over at? Yeah.
And Reach that's the music video that James Cameron directed, right?
That he did with Bill Paxton.
Yeah, it was Bill Paxton. It was Bill's band.
Yep.
It was called Martini Ranch.
Yeah, I love that name.
Cameron directed it, and then he got all of his friends, and we
you in it?
Was I in it? Yeah.
Yeah, you were. Yeah. I think I was somewhere. I remember talk about it, and then I think I was somewhere far away.
Yeah.
But we were all old friends with Bill Paxton. You were friends with Bill before Aliens?
No, that's where I met him.
Yeah.
Unreal.
He came
unreal because it's like the unreal part is you're talking about him as, you know, Bill, like, you know, him personally,
first name basis.
Yeah, like first name basis kind of thing. And for us, it's like we're hearing the name Bill Paxton, and there's a real disconnect there in terms of how you interpret the name Bill Paxton and how we interpret the name Bill Paxton.
I think one of the things about Bill's performance is, didn't everybody that watched him in anything sort of, I felt they felt like they kind of knew him because he was so often himself in so many ways in his performance.
Yeah. Wild Bill, right?
Oh,
and he was such a personable, he had such an infectious personality that were you there at that Universal Studios tribute that they did?
Mm-hmm.
That was just a mind-blowing event. And what's was so touching about that to me is all the people, Ron Howard and Rob Lowe and all these people knew Rob does the best Bill Paxton impersonation.
Yes.
Nobody else would go near an impersonation after Rob did his. And everybody came up and they told these incredible stories. And Cameron came up and he goes, "Well, a lot of people have been coming up and it's been very moving. And there's been so many things that were very funny. I don't do moving and I don't do funny." And then he proceeded to make everybody laugh so hard and then weep with the things that he said, because Jim Cameron loved Bill Paxton and couldn't help it to, but on a certain level, when Jim did his thing to Bill, it was just like, the only thing left at that occasion was for Bill and Louise's son, James, to stand up and I just forget, I think the one sentence is, "I just wanted to have more time." And everybody fucking lost it. We all wanted a little more time with Bill, but one can imagine the son and the daughter. Anyway, not to be morose, but to celebrate.
Yeah.
No, of course.
And that was the last time we saw each other.
That was.
Now he was very private about his health condition, right? He wasn't he wasn't public with it, right?
Yeah, I mean, who is? It was a heart thing that happened, and then there was some bad stuff that happened at the hospital that I know Louise, his wife, was very upset about. I haven't followed all the ins and outs, but it was a very sudden and abrupt and unexpected thing.
Yeah, it's very unexpected. Yeah.
Wild. But he graced our screens again this past year, just a couple months ago, when they re-released Titanic in theaters, and it was such a treat to not only see you, Jeanette, on the screen, but to see him and in IMAX. It was such a treat and made me miss him all over again. It was because that's one of my favorite roles from him is Brock in Titanic. That's when I think of Bill Paxton, that's the movie I think of. I think of
that
Titanic.
Was Bill. That was just Bill being 100% Bill, right? Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Hey, did you ever see, Jeanette? Did you ever see Terminator in 3D in the IMAX, or was it IMAX or 3D?
Yeah. Yes, I did. And also, well, are you talking about the one at Universal Studios?
There was some big thing, and again, I wasn't around, but I was always curious how it translated into 3 dimensions from the insider point of view.
I don't. Did they do it in 3D and the whole film in 3D? Did they do the whole?
Yeah, I think they did. Maybe you would know, Eddie.
Oh, well, funny enough, that's the shirt I'm wearing is from that. It's from the show itself. It was like a 3D kind of mix, and then they had live action performers.
That's what live action. So it was a whole kind of
live action
stage show. Yeah, there was a.
Yep.
It was, it was. You took the ride on, the Smurfs ride, and then you went to T2. Right?
Yep.
So yeah.
All right, let us, if you don't mind, we're just going to say hello to the people that are joining us here tonight. Some familiar faces and a lot of new people that we have not seen before that just want to say hello to you. I'm sure they're just as excited that we have the opportunity to have you here tonight.
For sure.
How do we feel? How do you both feel about the word celebrity? Do you feel like celebrities?
Do you, Jeanette? I never have.
No, it's funny. My eldest son, when he was, I don't know, it was like about 10 or 11. We were at the post office, our local post office, and somebody kind of came up to me and just went, "Oh, just want to say I really like your work." I was like, "Oh, thanks." And people, that's kind of what it usually is said, that, and which is incredible to hear. And my son goes, "Did you ever think about being a star instead of just someone who everybody just likes their work?" I was like, Well, I guess when I was, making the choice, but actually, I think if I had a choice, celebrity or someone that, you know, you really like their work. I don't even know what celebrity means.
What did you, I mean, do you ever have any sense of that, of a regret for what might have been had you become? Because for me, I was always terrified. My mother had sent me out when I left the East Coast to go west with a rather strict injunction about beware of fame. And
Really?
so I always thought, like, I want to approach avoidance. I wanted to come as close as I could.
See, I grew up in Hollywood, and I grew up in Beverly Hills. I went to Beverly Hills High School, so which was a very weird place to grow up. However, it was actually great because I knew actors who, like, I knew Martin Landau as, you know, the Scoutmaster, but of course they were stage actors forever before they did that silly TV show, which everyone knew, you know. So you knew people who were stars, and then you knew the parents, and then you knew incredible actors. You go see their parents, you know, in plays, and they, you know, oh, there's Alicia's dad shooting somebody, you know, oh, well, whatever. So I wasn't starstruck at all. I actually doubted I would ever become, you know, I just wanted to work because I knew that was the thing. It was just, if I could just work, that's all I wanted.
Yeah. The invasion of privacy and the becoming a sort of a publicly traded entity that people felt they had a right to. I became friends with so many people very early on that were so famous that I found it just oppressive to be out with them. Just because you couldn't finish a sentence, you couldn't have a conversation, but that it would be interrupted by people apologizing who didn't want to interrupt, but just went ahead and interrupted because they were beside themselves because they were in the same room with whoever it was.
We always, you know, a character actor is not usually recognized. I mean, you get recognized. I mean, the people who do recognize me, I'm always amazed that they, you know, how did you recognize, you know, they maybe saw me on a Zoom call or something or like that, but I rarely, usually they ask me if I go to the same gym as their cousin, you know, or something.
Yeah.
I look really familiar and they can't figure out how. And so. Yeah,
I always say, well, I'm not famous. I'm just very familiar.
But you have a long TV. I mean, it's different if you're on TV. It's different being on a TV show.
If you grow a big white beard, then they don't know. They aren't sure.
Now, Jeanette, are you?
Yeah. I mean, somebody came up today, and I was getting frames for these prints in a place that I don't usually go, and it was sort of near the mall area. And you know, in our town, Maine is so chill in terms of be cool. There's a certain East Coast reserved, a lot of pride in just being who they are, and don't. So it's a perfect place to just sort of, a lot of people come here to escape much greater fame than I've ever had, and do so successfully. And so I sort of get out of the mode that people recognize me at a fairly regular interval. But today it was a huge guy with a dog that was coming down the aisle. And I was like, oh, Jesus. He was coming with just enough sort of a combination of aggressiveness and tentativeness that I found him dangerous. And I was turning away and he went, Xander. And I and it was a lovely guy that aspires to do music for films and had followed me on Instagram or whatever, and knew that we wanted to bring more film to Maine, and he was just gung-ho, and it was a lovely exchange. I find all my exchanges. We did a celebrity, Sarah and I did a celebrity scooping event up in Brunswick yesterday, and
scooping what?
It was something to help an organization that basically helps kids at risk and in need, and just in general in that whole area. They had a fundraiser, and we had met these people. They were so cool, And they asked us, would you do this thing? And again, we just don't function as celebrities in Maine. We just sort of are normal people that go about their lives. And here we were like wearing the t-shirt, and we were doing interviews and taking selfies and learning how to scoop gelato, which is like really an art form.
That's what you were scooping. I was wondering what you were
scooping gelato. But yeah, so yesterday we had a celebrity event, but I'm so divorced from the term that I was actually breaking it down in my head yesterday. Celebrity. Did any British talk show host ever do a celebrity with someone else? No, that word always seemed silly to me. There's actors, and then there's movie stars, and you know, I've always thought of myself as an actor, not a celebrity or a movie star.
Yeah, I love how you have on your bio, I think it's for Twitter, a vet of some 250 plus movies, TV shows.
I change it all the time. I've changed it, I think.
And this is a question that I've had for Jeanette, because I'm really curious about it, is looking through the filmography, I noticed that at least according to Wikipedia, which I mean, you can tell me if it's right or wrong, but 2019 is the last credit that you have on your filmography. Is there any other thing that came after 2019? Is it
2019? Probably not. Well, do you remember? I don't even remember. I'm surprised there was anything.
Star Trek.
Oh, that was, right. That's a voice thing. Yeah, no, because I have not, I just did my first on-camera role in 14 years.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You're kidding. Have you just not wanted to?
No, yeah. Well, you know, I was not working that much and not enough, you know, I was just so bored, not working. And so when I started the business, the business just celebrated yesterday or today. I remember today, 14 years from when I opened it. Yeah. And then I was, you know, I was working on that, and I became really, really interested in, you know, how to run, we call it, you know, retail theater. And no, I didn't have an agent. My agents dropped me like a few weeks after I opened the business. And
no, my agents dropped me a few weeks after I moved to Maine.
Oh, yeah?
No.
Really? So, yeah, I was like, oh, you know, you get the call and you're like, hey, sorry, we're not. I'm like, oh, this is the call. This really is the call, you know. But, so, no, but yeah, I did. Yeah, I guess I got a voiceover agent right before the pandemic. So I did the voice of, I'm the voice match of Majel Roddenberry. I'm the computer on Star Trek, on the old Enterprise. But yeah, no, I guess my plan, if I had any plan when I started the business, was, I mean, we opened one store and then it took off. And then we opened a second, and then we thought, okay, well, we'll figure out how to do this. My husband and I opened it, and he's an artist, and we were just improvising the whole thing as we went, you know. And just recently, I mean, the pandemic put a real crimp in our business, but we survived it, and so we have 6 stores now.
What, did people just stop wearing bras during the pandemic? Is that it?
Well, yeah, but people, you couldn't go into a store.
Yeah.
Right. But they can go into your virtual store. You have
no virtual. We don't sell online.
You don't? Oh, okay.
No, it's all, you know, one-on-one customer.
Couldn't they wear a bra into
To where?
Couldn't they wear a bra into your stores and shop during COVID?
Well, when we were allowed to open up, no, we had just opened 2 stores. Our 4th one in LA. Wait, no, our 4th in LA. Yeah, and then one in Atlanta a week before the pandemic. And then, yeah, you couldn't remember. There was no walking.
No, I was making a bad joke about the bra cup being like a mask. Did you ever think of marketing?
I got it, Xander. I got it.
Third boob mask.
Right. Yeah, no, but I just recently got an agent in Atlanta, and so I
Good.
did
Yeah, excellent.
a short film. But
Well, anybody that's out there that's in a position to hire anybody, be crazy not to hire Jeanette Goldstein.
Aw.
So I am available now because I don't work in the stores. I do the marketing and I do the promotion and strategic planning, and so yeah, it's interesting. I am CEO.
We've got to get you and your husband to come up and stay at our inn in Maine.
Definitely.
Along with, I'm conspiring now. I was just talking to Lucinda Jenny today, and you must know her, right?
Not, I know,
You know,
people know her. Yeah, of course.
So you're a kind of person like Kathleen Wilhoit. Do you know
Yes,
Kathleen?
yes, I know Kathleen Wilhoit. Sure.
And they're really good friends. And so I just am conspiring with a bunch of cool people and fun friends and crew and everything else to come up, and we're going to teach how to make movies to the locals in Maine by making a little movie here and there along the way. And so crew and cast, just anybody that's free during this week or that week, we're going to bring people up and start making movies up here. And
yeah, I mean, that's kind of what, waiting as an actor, the frustrating thing is waiting around, I mean, it's the worst. And, you don't, when you don't wait, I mean, you take classes and you're in theater companies. I mean, you were in the Actors Gang and I was in, God, can't remember so many theater companies, and you're doing one-person shows and you have to do your art. But after a while, I needed to do something, you got to do something interesting. I made a short film. I directed a short film, which was great. I love directing.
yeah.
I really, anyway.
That's what I'm setting up to do in Maine, is to finally do what I was supposed to do when I grew up, because I've always been a visual artist, an actor, and I've messed around with rewriting just about everything I've ever worked on. But I haven't put all of those things together into one art form, which is what directing is. And that's what I'm conspiring to do in this next last chapter.
I mean, you can be, I mean, that's the thing that struck me about business, is you can be creative anywhere in any area of your life.
That's why I had to paint and sculpt at every step along the way, because I didn't want to be beholden to someone else to determine when it was okay for me to be creative. And
I know that. Yeah, exactly. So,
and I got so involved in my studio that I was always like, the phone would ring, like, huh, what? They want me to what? Oh, right.
No, it's true. It's true. I mean, like right now, I mean, I don't have to, I mean, at the end there, with all my kids and everything, it was like, you need the healthcare, but now I have, my business, I give healthcare to all my employees, including myself and my husband. And so, I do what I want to do that, is interesting and, has meaning.
You've done such a great job.
So thanks.
Anybody who wears a bra, especially larger ones.
Well, yeah, we specialize in really beautiful bras and underwear for women who are larger than A, B, and C, or larger women in general. Absolutely. So, and they are an incredibly loyal customer base. The idea of it's fun. I write all the copy, and we design, and and I have wonderful employees. I just learned so much about. I don't like being a boss. That's one thing. It's so different than being a director, being the boss. It's really so I read business books and I do different things and I hire people, and I don't know. It's fascinating.
And the name of the company is Jeanette Bras, right?
Jeanette Bras.
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah, and it's we have 6,
one N.
Just one N, JENETTE. I know, and no apostrophe S. Yeah, and so we've got 4 in Los Angeles, and then 2 in Atlanta, and that's why I'm in Atlanta. Actually, Xander is why I opened the store in Atlanta.
Really? I thought it was just help facilitating the possibility that you were already entertaining, and that you weren't you?
I'm trying to remember, my mother's family, my mother's from Atlanta. So Atlanta was always like a second home to me. And then you were there, and then you hooked. You hooked me up with Deanna, and then I started coming and getting to know it. And yeah, but by the time I got to Atlanta, you'd left. Well, they killed you. So
Yeah. Oh, right. Yeah, the bad time. Well, I didn't leave. They killed me,
I know.
as they are wont to do.
Well, they always
Like The Walking Dead.
kill.
Yeah, The Walking Dead.
me.
In case anyone's like,
Yeah.
what's going on here?
I have been killed, and or I kill people. I murder. That's my
Have you
thing.
murdered more than you've been killed?
Well, I always say that. Let me say, in Titanic, I murdered my children.
That's bad. Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That counts for several, I think.
Basically, who did I murder? I murder a lot, and then I get killed. Well,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then
one
you
follows suit.
murder. What did we do together?
Donato and daughter.
Because Donato, you were killing nuns, right? You were
I was
raping
killing
them.
everything, but no, specifically, I guess it was nuns.
But I remember you said to me, you were really, though, you thought it was a step up because even though you were a sleazebag, you were wearing a suit.
Yeah,
You say that,
That's
and it was
true.
like,
I was a
that's where-
clean-cut murderer in that one.
you're a clean cut murderer.
Yeah.
But did you murder me? You did murder me.
Did I murder you?
I think you did.
Well, had to get even, didn't I, darling?
You did. Yeah, you
Those
did.
around.
We actually just watched this for the first time today. You do a lot of murdering in Air Force One.
Tried to kill Harrison Ford.
Yeah, but people forget it. I shoot all my coworkers, and then I reassimilate, and by the end of the film, people have almost forgotten that I did anything wrong until I shoot Bill Macy in the face, and I think I get my friend Paul Guilfoyle and try to get Harrison, but of course that doesn't ever work out, does it?
Yes, of course.
No,
That is a. I turned to Haley and I was like, "That's something we have to ask because it's not clearly said in the movie. What's the motive? Like, why is that character the way he is?"
Did you ever see the movie, Jeanette?
No. A
Yeah.
friend of mine produced it. I've never seen it.
It's basically, I would show up at work every day going, have we come up with a reason why?
I've been in one of those.
And they kept saying, Wolfgang Peterson was so avuncular, so this German folksy accent. He would greet everybody on set every day, say, now come say good morning, Uncle Wolfie, and morning, Mr. Bauhaus, with Michael Bauhaus. The two of them were both German, and they were very the happy Hofbrauhaus kind of German atmosphere. Michael was a bit more serious, but Wolfgang was just so joyful and fun, and he just had a way of deflecting because I would be approaching the writer going, Andrew, why am I doing this? What is in this? Am I a deep mole of the Communist Party, and that's why I'm facilitating the Russians to take over the plane, Air Force One? Or am I thinking I'm going to make some money out of the deal?
Did you ever see this terrible movie I was in called Fair Game? I also played a communist, but I was a Cuban. Did you ever see this?
No.
Thank God.
Fair game?
Any of you guys?
We're afraid of each other's work, darling.
Have not. No.
Oh, it is a terrible movie. It's Cindy Crawford's first and last movie.
Say no more.
She was a very sweet woman, but it was such a mess. And it was the same thing. It was Stephen Berkoff, amazing to work Stephen Burke. I know, I was like, he's an incredible English playwright, actor. But we were assassins and we didn't really know why. And neither did the audience until the very end, where they had to reshoot because they had to explain what the fuck was going on. All we knew, we just wanted to kill her and William Baldwin. We ran around Miami with
I just spent the last 5 weeks with Billy Baldwin, who I hadn't seen since Internal Affairs, but we'd stayed in we'd seen each other a few times.
Yeah, I'm sure he's a little embarrassed about that, Phil. You mentioned it if you. It's not as bad as Showgirls, but it's.
I'll have to bring up Fair Game. I'll text him now because we were just texting. Because I had in the movie I just did, I had to do paintings of all the other actors because I play a homeless painter, and that's part of the way they're marketing. They're using that
Well, tell him I was the Rosa. I think at the very end, we karate chopped in the water. And he stabs me. He first kicks me and then he stabs me, and I die in the water.
So I'm asking him, fair game. Did you stab Jeanette? Or what was the other alternative?
I think he karate kicked me in the water. We had a karate fight in the water, and finally he stabs me, the assassin. That's after
I'm
I
going
sort
to
of.
just say, did you stab Jeanette or karate kick her to death?
I seriously hope we get a response during this.
Yeah, me too.
I have to ask, is it more fun in your role to kill or be killed?
That's I
I'm really, yeah, you answer that.
I mean, I had a death scene. It depends on how one gets. I mean, I certainly liked the end I had in Aliens and Near Dark. Those were both really, really good ends. Moments of so
Memorable demises.
memorable demises. Yeah.
Yep.
Blowing up. Actually, I blew up in both of them. I've blown up in many a film.
Have you ever made a death reel? Because someone made a death reel for me. So if you go on YouTube and you go
Oh, really?
the death reel,
Huh.
I think there's about 50 different ways, and there's definitely it's set to the William Tell overture, and it has a crescendo moment with 3 or 4 different high falls. From
I will
different
definitely.
and I've exploded in 3 planes.
Yes.
Of course, shot and stabbed endlessly in different
Yeah.
ways.
Yes. I exploded off a diving board once.
Yeah, I did The Walking Dead strictly because I saw in the comic book that the guy would get hung, and I never.
So you knew that was going to happen?
Oh yeah, that was part of the deal. I said, so I'm going to get hung, right? All right.
You didn't want Jeffrey Dean Morgan to Lucille you?
The only thing that they didn't have time, that they didn't get to do, that I would have liked for them to do is, and I had it so in my mind that there was a whole thing with, I think they had to race things along because one of the other characters was supposed to take over, and in their schedules, it was all. But one of the things that I was hoping they would get to do is that when I was hung, that one way or another I would become a zombie and I'd be able to gnaw through my rope and then have a long drop down and then the sickening thud and then scurry away, and then they can sort of wonder whether I'm out there.
Jeanette, you don't strike me as someone that watched The Walking Dead.
How did you know that? I saw the very first episode, and I was like, I can't like, oh, this is my wife, and now she's a zombie, blow her head. I can't. It's just, I can't remove myself from my empathy of that fast. And I was just like, yeah.
You didn't have a problem in Terminator 2 just running your husband through.
No, but you deserve
it. Because of what I said about the dog?
But I was going to say, to be fair, that was not actually Jeanette.
That's true. That death scene I never got. It
seemed pretty much like you at the time. Especially when you had to do your arm behind your back and they had the fake puppet arm coming out. And the two
what's so funny, Xander? Everyone always asks me, was it really, really hard? They always are saying, like, must have been so hard for you to.
Do you remember what torture I went through?
Yes. And I'm always like, I just stood there with my arm behind my back. I mean,
I had to, first of all, practice deep, sword swallowing for 2 weeks. And then they started out with a tube of milk and a tube of blood that ran down the backside of the blade. They had to fit the back of my head with a retractable blade that would all the puppeteers that were down there just out of frame.
And it wasn't working. It was getting stuck, and like Jim was like, "God damn it! Would you fucking?" They're like,
"I'll fix it." Just like I can remember, they had one of the early Steadicam things in that, and the Steadicam, and they fucked up a shot, and Jim said, "What's the matter?" And he said, "Well, look, it's jammed." And give me that. Opens it up. Lands it shut. Now try it. Of course, it worked, and it's like Jim could do, and he was right down there. Like, so first there's the Forever with the tube of milk and tube of blood, and people almost threw up, and it was so gross, and I was gagging. I mean, I gag on a toothbrush. That was rough. And I don't know if you remember, but Stan Winston had forgotten to take into account that I had to do a back bend over the counter, and it was a real house. It was a practical set. So there was no like taking the counter out. It was that family's kitchen. And so to be pinned to the cupboard, I wasn't just standing up, pinned to the cupboard as Stan had done the math for, but I had to, and Jim didn't think it was physically possible right at the beginning of the night. He was, "What, Stan? You didn't take the counter into account? Okay, well, there goes $200,000. And I just watched Stan go pale. I go, "Well, no, I'll try. I mean, I'll try to." Stan, you owe me one, right?
Do a back bend for.
He never made me a doll or anything for it. But Jim was a gent, because he knew what torture I went through, and sent me a bottle of Cristal champagne the next day when Patty and I went out to this restaurant. And we had the bottle of Cristal. It was just like,
oh really? Oh, that's
so fun. It was like that. It was like magic at the time. That's a good champagne, Cristal. Every time I ever had it. Yeah.
Now I stumbled across this by accident. Can either of you explain to me what this is?
Oh
yeah. That we should have used that for the promo.
Yeah. That was really cool. That was during the pandemic. Oh, and look, I'm wearing the same shirt now. And who was some guy from on Twitter? You know, it was the very beginning, and was it on Twitter? He contacted us, and he said, "You know, do you want to do this PSA?"
And this was at the start of the pandemic.
Yeah, and my husband we filmed it or took pictures of me on my porch. I was stuck in Georgia, and were you were in Maine, I guess, right?
I was in Maine.
Yeah. And
look, our woodwork all sort of conspires to go to, or is that our woodwork from the film? No.
It's in the film.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, no, he did. It's a great job. Yeah, I did it on my front.
I didn't realize we had that kind of a radar range, that fancy bake oven. I'd forgotten.
Well, we were trying to figure out what to do, so I used, but it's what is it, 6 feet? Yeah, it's really good.
It's super clever. Yeah, I was very excited when I found that. I was like, we have to just at least mention this. And
I was looking for it. I couldn't find it, so send it to me. Right?
Yes. It's so good. I love it.
That's cute.
All right, we have a couple questions, some rapid fire questions for both of you. We came up with some of them, so we'll. Jeanette, I know you said that you would love to do some directing. So this one is a director that you would love to work with.
God, I'm such a director groupie. I mean, it's funny. Like every director I've worked with, I'm always just more interested in watching them. Catherine Bigelow, that was incredible. Put me on the spot. There was this, I don't know his name, this film called Let the Right One In. You know that? Have you seen that? The Swedish one?
The vampire movie?
Yeah. I forget that. That's an incredible director.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't remember his name either.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm trying to go through, because I know they did an American remake, and that's the one that I'm kind of thinking.
And that was good. It was good, but the Swedish one was pretty incredible. Who's it? What about you, Xander? What was
I mean, I kind of can't believe still that I haven't worked with the Coen brothers.
Oh God,
or with Scorsese.
Yeah.
If Coppola decides he wants to do anything else, I almost worked with him so many times, and
the Coen brothers.
And Darren Aronofsky and all these other guys. It's like I just feel like because I did have a pretty good sort of an exhaustive list of A-list directors, and so it gets to the point where it's just like Ways of Dying. I want to get all of them in there.
All
You
right.
get greedy, even if you don't want to be so famous that people are coming up to you on the street all the time, but you do want to. It's like I'm after the quantity now, not just.
This one, I probably should have just worded these as Jeanette and Xander, but feel free to both bounce this back and forth. An actor that you would love to work with, or actors, if you want to make it plural.
Actors that you like? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, it's on the screen. I don't know. Can you see it? Actor you'd love to work with?
Well, I'm going to be working with somebody else, and I thought at one point it was going to be this other actor, and I can't even reveal what this thing is. But since I'd gotten the wrong guy in my mind, and I was so looking forward to working with Mads Mikkelsen, is an actor. I'd like to work with him. That's fresh in my mind. I got to work with Robert Duvall and Al Pacino and these guys. I sometimes would choose movies just to have a scene with somebody I really wanted to work with, and it was sort of like directors, much more than like trying to get I chose movies not how they could facilitate stardom, but sort of the circuitous route of locations, obscure countries that I've always wanted to go to, and actors I'd like to work with, or directors or cinematographers, and there's a lot. Sarah and I were just watching The Offer the other day, and have you seen that yet, Jeanette?
What is
about the making of The Godfather?
Oh no, I haven't.
It's really pretty entertaining. It's obviously, first of all, it says based on the experiences of Al Ruddy, who was one of the producers, and it's produced by his daughter Alexandra Ruddy, and it's very Ruddy-centric in its point of view. And Miles, what's his name, plays Al Ruddy, but the performances that are mind-blowing in that are Matthew Good, who we love so much in The Crown, if you saw that. In that, and his performance as Robert Evans is so freaking charismatic and skillful. Something can do something. And there's another guy, and I'm forgetting his name. He plays this guy Charlie, who's Austrian. That's the head of the whole corporation that owns Paramount. And the theatricality that these guys, and Giovanni Ribisi does a really great. He plays the mobster Columbo family in it. Yeah, and he does it. It's just such an extreme. And he talks about and he really, and he's, are you really talking that way? And he does it, but it's so fucking brilliant, and it's his physicality and his listening and his being in the moment and everything that took really strong, bold.
He's a wonderful actor.
Choices, and they're so in it and so committed to it that, like, every scene that any one of these three guys are in, it just makes everybody else better. And Juno Temple was really cool, and I knew her. I can't believe she's so grown up.
I know she went to preschool with my son.
She was a kid. Now she's like
she was she went to preschool. Yeah.
Isn't that freaky? It's just like they see us, people that remember us being and then well, you don't have a long white beard. You just have a little, and that looks young.
And Jeanette, an actor or an actors you'd like to work with?
All the same. That they, I mean, it's anybody you see on. I watch a lot of TV. I was watching. Have you seen Rachel Weisz doing?
Oh, she's so good.
Oh my God!
I just heard about the show today on the radio.
Oh, she's so good. She's so good.
She's always been so good. I guess she raised the kids or something, because she's always been like a movie star, high level. But she and Daniel they're both still together, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's one of those. They're like like just because she's so pretty, you think, you know, oh well, she's
Yeah.
just a star like that. But she's an amazing, really amazing actor. Yeah. Anyway.
All right.
Anybody is good. You know what's the greatest joy for an actor is to be with another actor, regardless of their age, sex, degree of fame, or whatever else, right? When they're there in the scene with you, and it's each take is a little bit different because every moment in life is different from the last or the next, and I got to work with. Who's had a hard time with Barbara Okawa, is not the name you would expect. She's a German actress. She starred in early Fassbinder movies. Like
Yes, you worked with.
I did a show, 12 Monkeys, with her. And I just couldn't believe how exciting it was to just, in every moment, everything that I did differently, she responded to differently, so that everything she did differently, I got to respond to differently. And you just never know when that's going to happen. For me, doing the Walking Dead was a joy because Stephen Ogg and we had this face off, these characters that were pitted against each other. And they had to develop a whole camera move around us because no two takes were going to match. Because they had to be able to get his close up and mine at the same time and use either that take or the next one, because and that's any actor that's gonna, because there's a lot of some old actors were always that old school sort of, they're gonna figure it out and this is what they're gonna do. And then there's a lot of younger actors that I started to come across and started being disappointed that it seemed as though they're, especially on TVs, when I started moving from film into TV, there's a lot of they hire the people because of the way they look a lot more. And they've got this idea of why people have hired them. And it's almost as though they've worked out their performance in a mirror. And they know this is a good angle, and they know that's a good angle, and they're going to talk really quietly because that'll force everybody into a close-up. And it's easier to tell a lie when you're talking quietly, and so that's a little trick that I think a lot of them have learned, and it also does force that big close-up. And I love behavior and action and being able to have people that come in and they've done a lot of homework and they know how to do whatever the physical activity their character is supposed to be doing. So you incorporate that in, and so that's all interesting stuff for the camera to pick up and incorporate into the storytelling instead of talking heads. But I went through a period where I was just really frustrated, like maybe I'll stop doing this because it's not interesting to me, because in this take, they're reacting to me the same way as in the last take, and I'm doing it so differently, and there's no difference in their response, and I could set myself on fire and they would
Love it. All right, this is from the chat room. So this is for so this is for Xander. It says, I'm a huge fan of yours. Question on Candyman and T2. Yeah, on your death scenes, your eyes are looking up. Is that your idea, or was it the director?
On both of those, that was whatever impulse I had at the time. My eyes had at the time, because it seemed like with in the case of a blade going through your head, that nerves would be snapped and muscles would be snapped, so that your eyes would snap like they just have been let go by a rubber band, and on some level without it being too comedic. And the same thing when you've got a hook, as Bernard Rose explained. I wasn't killed in Candyman originally. I don't know if you ever saw that. You probably didn't see that either, did you? Scary movies, neither did my wife. In the first time through, I didn't get killed, but just like in Terminator 2, because I cursed the dog out and drank from the carton, I deserved to die badly. I had an affair as a I was a philandering professor, which is so many of them are, I understand. And that was an unforgivable sin. And when the test audiences saw it, he must die. He must die a gruesome death. And so I didn't just attend her funeral. At the end, they added on a scene, and Bernard Rose is a mad genius who directed that and wrote it. He's, mate, though, I've got the perfect death. You're going to go into the bathroom because your chippy little girlfriend is driving you mad because she can't cook. And you're going to go in and you're just going to call out, oh, Helen, no. And then you're going to go look in the mirror and go, Helen. And then you say it the 5th time, mate. And there she is, candy bitch. She's going to rip your stem to stern. And we're gonna rip with a hook right up there. There's gonna be gouts and gouts of blood. And like, wow, that's harsh. That's harsh. But again, if you're ripped stem to stern by a hook, the supernatural hook, I think the least your eyes can do is roll.
And then this is a follow-up question for Jeanette. Says, you worked with Catherine Bigelow in the all-star cast on one of my favorite films ever, Near Dark. Can you tell us what you remember about your experience on the vampire epic?
Oh, yeah. Well, it was 8 weeks of nights. So pretty brutal. But it was, we were, it was on nights and it was really cold. I remember that. And we were dirty. And that was one of those kind of crazy sets. It was just like 4 of us. I mean, it was such a small cast, and it was Catherine, and we were out on the truck stop, and Lance, insane. I'm there with Lance, and Lance Hendrickson is, he's calmed down a bit now as an older, but my God,
What's an example of Lance madness at that time?
The madness. Well, he method actor. So he'd had these nails put on himself, these crazy, nasty nails, and then he kind of sawed them down with a buzzsaw, and he wore them constantly. And we would go into little cafes in town, and he would still be like the vampire, the character, and they love their guns, all the squibs and all of that kind of thing. So, which I was not that excited. I'm never excited about guns and all of that, but I find a lot on sets. A lot of the dudes just love being gunslingers. And it was the interesting thing at the end of the 6 or whatever 8 weeks of nights, and it was just us together. So we're in our last. The only bit that's on a studio set is the very first time you see us is the interior of the Winnebago, and it's the family. And, we've been together for an eternity. And by that time, we just could not stand the sight of each other. I remember it was perfect for the moment. I mean, I was just sort of like, oh my God. And the kid, Joshua Miller, he's a writer director now, but he was 13, 12 or something. And he had this blow up ball, and he kept like banging it against the wall. And Bill takes the thing and he goes, God, I swear to God, I'm going to rip your head off if you do that. And it was like perfect for it. We just.
Did they use it in the movie?
Pretty much. It was like, when he said, do you know what it's like to be a little boy on the outside, an old man? He goes, do you know what it's like to hear a gun at every fucking night? It was like the family vacation from hell.
Oh my God.
But that was a great film to be able to improvise and work stuff out and figure out, what you're doing and where, the behavior. And Catherine Bigelow was so open to that, having us just kind of, make.
I've always wanted to work with her. A lot of my friends have worked with her, and I'm like, my turn. I want to work with her.
I mean, she's an artist. I mean, and she's, a painter, and she's just creating this beautiful thing, so.
At that time, was she already married to James Cameron?
No, they were good friends. he had helped her develop the script, her and Eric read, and yeah, that's how she found me, because I didn't have did I have an agent? No, I didn't. I had an English agent. I'd come back to visit from England, and I was staying with my folks. I wasn't even a SAG member, and it was Cameron who gave her knew my mother's phone number. So
Amazing.
yeah.
He was your agent.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, pretty much so. Same thing with T2. He just kind of said, he would always, we'd talk. He said, how's it going? And I said, I was like, well, I go up, there's some good stuff I go up for, but they always think I'm this huge Latina or something. I mean, just like and he was like, oh, I think this time by that time I'd had did I have a kid by that time? It must have been. He said, oh, but you're such a great mom. And I was like, yeah, it'd be great to do a mom role. So that's when he called me up. He said, all right, got a mom role for you. She's not the greatest mom in the world.
That doesn't matter.
That doesn't matter, but it's just a mom.
More interesting. Yeah, this is a good segue to me, that the not great mom, the maybe not so great foster father, is what inspired this guy, John LaJoie, who's a great comedian and an actor from Canada, and worked a lot. And he somehow, I think he approached you first or something. I can't remember, but one way or another, he had done a song because he always wanted to be a musician. He was a musician, and he and his brother had seen Terminator 2 50 times when they were growing up. And he wrote this song, Todd and Janelle, and the name of the band was Wolfie's Just Fine.
Yep.
I think you sent me an email or something, and you said, this is so weird. There's this band called Wolfie's this song called Todd and Janelle. It's like, so, and then
I can't remember where I saw it, but I couldn't get it. Once I heard it,
it's a beautiful song. It's
so beautiful, and it tells their whole backstory, because they watched the movie so many times. He and his brother got to imagining, well, what would be their backstory? What was their relationship? And it's just, it's still one of the songs that kind of gives me chills. And he's got a new record coming out and everything, and so I'm excited to promote anybody that he has, a huge following.
I'm doing the little film that he's, for that new record.
Well, just any of his music. My kids, when I did a rock video for him on a song called Break My Back, because I told him I was a fan, and he's like, "What, you're a fan?" No, I'm the fan. And it was really fun working together, because he's really, really talented director as well. And he did a song called Break My Back, and we did this. But oh, look, you put up Todd and Janelle. Can we listen to it? See, let the fans hear how awesome this song is.
We'll play a little bit, just so we don't get a copyright.
Yeah, no, he won't mind.
But here we go. Oh wait, hold on. You have to sign in. Let me do it on YouTube, because it's on YouTube, right?
I think it should be on YouTube.
It could be. It's what's interesting. It's the last moment. It's Todd's last moment. He's thinking in his mind before he dies. But I was asking John, I was like, it's so interesting. And he said, I was just thinking, like, what could go so wrong in a marriage that you have no idea that your wife is a robot. You have absolutely no. I mean, what is the deep sadness that what happened to this couple that that they're so oblivious to it. He's so oblivious to her. And what are his thoughts?
Okay, so here it is. This should play. Let me know if you can hear it.
I wanna wake up in the morning with my lover, the woman I was with at 25. Sleeping's the only thing that we do undercover, and conversations alternate to fights. What's the goddamn dog barking at?
Well, there you go. There's a little sample for you.
Yeah, I mean, he uses a couple of things that I think I ad-libbed at the time, and to hear your ad-lib turned into a really cool song 25 years later is one of the cherries on top of the pop culture sundae in my book.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So unique.
Yeah, no, it's
Yeah,
great.
it's
And
very interesting. Yeah.
that music
Yeah.
video that you sent me, Xander, that was quite a journey to go through. That
The
music
one in the
video.
car with the
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's great. That was
That is-
I
fantastic.
mean,
That was
I
so
think
good.
he's going to be a director when he grows up too, and he's gonna.
Yeah,
that was-
I hope he does a feature because it's just so much talent, and putting with his natural rhythms as a comedian, which is it's so low key. But my kids became obsessed.
I've never
with
seen.
all of
I didn't know
his-
he was a comedian. I
He's
mean,
like- I guess it was on YouTube or something, but it was like 6 years ago, and they like all of his songs, and he does these dark videos of like, and a lot of them are from a kid's point of view of like how weird the adult world is or how terrifying certain things are, and so you just sort of go there, and then there's this really catchy musical sensibility and great visual
mm,
eye. Yeah,
It's good stuff.
we're here to promote bourgeois.
yeah.
Couple more comments. Just want to read them off real quick. Zack Attack says, Xander, just have to say, you were great on 24.
You were I
double
definitely saw
feature.
that.
Double feature podcast. Love Jeanette. Vasquez is one of our favorite characters. Such a badass character. Loved Aliens, and specifically that badass women were running the show. Movie Collector saying, Jeanette, you're beautiful. You were great in Near Dark and Aliens. What was it like working with Bill Paxton? If you want to add anything at the top there, because we talked
Yes.
a little bit about him.
The sweetest guy, just, like you said, charismatic, knew everybody's name in the set. That was the thing. He like knew everyone's name, but he'd come back to me. He said, my dad taught me that you learn it and I work at it and I make sure that I know everyone's name.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
He was a gentleman.
I've always admired those people.
Yeah.
I'm better with faces.
Yeah, me too. I agree. Favorite moment.
Oliver Mercer says, question for Xander. Did you have a favorite moment working on 24?
There were so many, but the one that of course stands out the most is in the pilot episode after getting shot with the tranq gun and laying there passed out on the couch. Sarah Clark and Kiefer were doing a scene, and I had just met Sarah that day, and I just was just hearing her voice and hearing what a good actor she was. It just sounded so natural, and she'd just flown in from New York the day before, and I just wow, and then we went back to the trailer, touched up after work after lunch, and the generator went out, and so everybody left the trailer, but she and I stayed in, and we just talked for a long time in the dark, and we ended up getting to I think the Academy Awards were the next weekend, and she was in from New York, and she also wanted to go on a hike, and it turned out she wanted to go on a hike right next to where I lived, and everything just sort of worked out for us to get together. And of course, now I have 2 children, 2 beautiful daughters as a result of that moment and those moments, and so that supersedes everything in life. But just the other day, I had a random impulse to reach out to Joel Surnow, who was the creator of the show, and I went to look up and said, "Do I even have Joel's number?" And I looked at, and I just had all these Joels with full names, and none of Joel, no Joel Surnow. There's just one Joel, and I think that might be him. And I pulled up the thread, and he'd written this beautiful thing about how lucky he felt he was to have had Sarah and me in the show. And I've never written back. It's like, oh my God, I can't believe I never wrote back on this. We were so grateful to have had the beautiful characters and storylines and everything, and being introduced to each other through that show. So thank you. And yeah, that of course, that character is one of the favorite characters because he was such a douche in the first season, and I had only kept doing it. It was only supposed to be a guest star in the pilot, and then they liked the irony and the gravitas that I had brought to an otherwise sort of dismissible character, and so they kept writing for me, but they kept writing to play into the dickishness, to being a sort of an antagonist and a sort of just an irritant. And I asked Joel at one point, does he have to be such a gratuitous dick? I mean, why is he being just a dick to be a dick? And he says, we have one rule on this show: never bore. Okay, all right, fair enough. I think we can skirt free of gratuitous dickishness and still not be boring. But just throwing that out there. And he really did hear that I didn't want to keep doing the same thing over and over, and I didn't want to do TV series at the time. I was a movie guy. I liked flying under the radar on movies, and he goes, look, I know you don't want to do a series regular, but what about if you inhale airborne plutonium in the first episode or second, and you will be dead within 24 hours, and that gives you one season, and then I said, that's perfect. And I think, because I really heard what you're saying, that we can have you now, instead of continuing, you can try to make amends for a life misspent and try and redeem yourself to those that you've hurt along the way. And it's just like, oh my God, that season played out in such a beautiful way, because the guy kept his edge, but he's dying, and he reached it. Yeah, it was really, and we got to do a lot of our own writing, because with that show, due to events that were happening in the real world, things were changing on a dime, and scripts had to be thrown out because they were too close to what was actually happening in the world. And so they relied on us to be quick on our feet and come up with dialogue that, sometimes improvisational, but just like, here, this is the basic outline in some scenes. Some scripts were like perfectly written and you didn't change a word. Some needed to be massaged, and the directors were always cool about, Kiefer was strong about, it doesn't sound right now. Let's go work on it a little bit. And we come up with something and they'd shoot it. It's a really exciting show to work on.
I did the last season, a couple of episodes. I was a couple of episodes on the last season.
Oh, you were? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We stopped watching after they kill me. I don't watch anymore.
Right. Well, I always kill series. I'm always on the
Did you have a good time? Did you work with John Cassar?
Yeah.
He just had a birthday yesterday.
It was very nice. I really enjoyed working on that.
How funny that you took this right out of my mouth, Xander, because one of the questions is, have you watched the rest of The Walking Dead? No?
Yeah, I watched I hadn't watched it before they hired me. They offered me the part, and again, it's just, okay, so this guy is such a dick. I mean, he's such a dick. So why exactly would I want to do it? Because I do at some point. I have daughters now, and I want them to be flipping through the channels somewhere down the line and see Daddy as something other than a douche. Talk me into this. And Scott, as the showrunner, goes, well, I started out in comedy. I don't know if you know this, but I did start out in comedy, and I am thinking of very funny things that your character could do, and that you're the kind of actor that won't make it look like you're trying to be funny, but that you'll just be funny while being a douche. And okay, all right. Yeah, all right. And so then I had to zoom in, and just like I got to do to some extent with The Mandalorian recently, and I just love the idea of, there's a graphic novel with a whole history of a character that's written, and you get to study these graphic images that you then, I had them when I was staying for a couple of weeks before we shot my sequences. I was binge watching. They gave me all the discs. So I'm in this weird place outside of, have you been out there outside of Atlanta where they shot The Walking Dead near the set? They have this weird.
Oh, no. Yes, I know. But I've been down to that is it called Trillium Studio? Way down there.
Well, there's a place that I think it was once a cult lived there, or maybe it was a big corporation. Is there a difference? I'm sorry. I'm kidding.
Oh, are you talking about this weird place that it's like this made city?
Yeah, and everybody drives around on golf carts.
No, it's called, it's like The Prisoner. It's called went there one day. It's called
The Prisoner.
oh, it's so funny. It's like The Prisoner. It's
I
called,
felt like that.
yeah, you went, it's a really weird, uh, it's a composed city and you buy your home and then there's little
Yeah.
shops and
And everything is just
yeah, there's
nice.
a wine, yeah, and then the big white ball comes down.
Yeah. And yeah, exactly. And the big white ball comes. Well, I was in that world, not knowing anybody there, and I didn't really want to. I would come in for a fitting, or they wanted me close by, and they'd come pick me up, take me, drop me back off into the zone, and I would just be binge watching, and I had them blow up all the images of the Gregory character from the comic book, so they'd be large, and
It's
I'd lay
called
them out on.
Serenby.
What's it?
The town is Serenby.
Serenby, it's not Serenby, and maybe
Not
we
Serenby?
shouldn't. No, but it's just like that.
Okay.
I think they've got a blooper. They just sort of dropped these pod cities down from outer space and let humans inhabit them with golf carts. Excuse me. But so I had all the graphic comic book images blown up, laid out all over the room. And I had the one bed, there was the second bed in the room. And so they're all on that bed. And then there was the TV and I had this DVDs and I would just watch the whole, the disc of various seasons. And I'd wake up and I'd be having these zombie dreams. I'd fallen asleep and then I went, must put that CD in. But I watched all the things up to where I enter towards the end of season 6. And so after they killed me in the beginning of season 9, yeah, I'm done. I enjoyed all the people and everybody was cool. And Andrew Lincoln is my favorite of all time, #1 on a call sheet in terms of how he behaved towards everybody else. I never saw anything like it. Just the most generous, hardworking, humble, bright, and kind. Just never spoiled by his fame at all. Remarkable human.
You do know he's coming back to the role, right?
He is, yeah. I can't imagine that he wouldn't want to do something different, but I guess he likes that character enough.
Yeah.
He doesn't.
They're filming it. I think they're up in New Jersey right now. They're filming it.
Yeah, see, it would take a lot to get me back to New Jersey. I grew up there. I love New Jersey.
This is a great comment right here.
There's something going on in Texas, and it's a great thing. And I'm saying, but I don't want to leave my children, and I don't think I want to be in Texas right now.
I'd love to see you guys in a romantic comedy. That's funny. I'd love to.
Hey, let's do that.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, the alternate universe in which Todd and Janelle live.
Right. I remember we would just sit on the couch, while they're setting up and just kind of making up shit about their, the house, their life, the bong hits, all of the different things.
Yeah.
That was
it seemed like to me, I felt like you're one of those actors that you just drop down and you're in that world together and you're in the moments together and they're real.
I can't remember. Was it I can't remember if it was Donato and Daughter or was it T2 where we had the trailer, little rooms side by side, but we opened up we were talking, we opened up the
I think that was Donato and Daughter.
We opened up the partition and we were just, because you see there's so much downtime.
Yeah.
I remember you were telling me about mask work and studying different things and yeah, with the actors gang and all that. So
yeah, and Patty Tippo, who's down there, and
I just saw her. I saw her last week.
Did you? Oh, great.
Yeah.
But in all seriousness, is there any is there any talks? Have you had any discussions on let's do something now? Let's work on something together now.
I think I just said it. I'm inviting you and your husband.
What's the name?
Come up and hang out at our inn, and I'll invite some other guests that you
I saw that, and you restored that.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Is it near the house? I mean, is it somewhere? I mean, it's in the same town, or
we got a farm 9 years ago that we would come to, and we started restoring this old farmhouse, and we would come in the summers, and then after a couple summers, we just couldn't bear to go back to LA. It was like August is when it starts to get so gorgeous here, and then in LA it's just bleached heat, and you'd be bringing the kids to start school in August, and you'd leave the garden just when everything was getting ripe and leaves were about to turn and the air was getting now I'm an East Coast guy, and so I couldn't wait to get out of LA. And Sarah never was in love with LA, so we did a series in Toronto for a few years, and we got a taste of life outside of LA. And
now most people, or not most people, so many people, because of the pandemic and how the business is now, you can, don't have to be in LA. You don't have to be in New York or LA or the cities. You can live where you want.
Yeah, and if you're, there's a lot of work that comes to Atlanta, but and I was working in Atlanta a lot, and so it's East Coast, either Toronto or Atlanta, like let's get east. But ever since I've been in Maine, I want to start making movies here because A, I don't want to have to leave my children anymore, and B, I love Maine, and I really think it would be great for the state's economy.
Well, I'll definitely come. I don't know about the snow coming up in this. That looks pretty intense.
Oh, cinematic though.
Okay, cinematic. Okay, that's good. As long as I can be inside and be warm.
Snow is great. God, we've fallen in love with it. Every time it snows, I just go out, like after the kids are gone to bed, and Sarah's upstairs, and I'll just stop for a minute and I'll look at the snow falling in the street light outside, and I missed so much of it that I'm still like a little kid when I see it snow. So. And it's beautiful. Everything goes black and white.
Amazing.
Kind
We're coming up on 1 hour and 90 minutes. So we're going to wind it down here. I think 90 minutes is a good spot to
sounds good.
Close it out here. So just a couple more minutes. So get in those last minute questions. This one is a broad one, but very curious. Since you are connected so much to James Cameron, do either of you have any aspirations or hopes to be in any of those Avatar sequels?
I'm not in it. I auditioned for the first.
Oh, you did?
I
did not know that.
Yeah, it was the tree, the mother tree. CCH Pounder did that role. Sort of like that. But I have not in any of them.
Yeah, I'm hurt, Jim, if you're out there watching.
Yeah.
I was never asked to participate either. I would certainly be open to it. I love working with Jim. We tell some stories about what a stern taskmaster he's known to be, but he's like, I've always equated him with a great general, and what would have been a war with a great general, you're going to win your war.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
I'd love to go to New Zealand. I've never been. Have you been to New Zealand? Twice.
Great to see you, Jeanette. This is why it was Eddie. You were a beautiful conduit through which we could connect and chat from afar.
Yes, thank you so much. Because you're the one that really facilitated the whole thing. Like you kind of put it together. You were able to make it happen. Yeah. So I very much.
And Jeanette and I secretly both want to go to. Is it a Comic-Con in Dublin?
Yeah, I think so.
In August.
I love Ireland.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, I'm not I don't love all conventions. In fact, I sort of have done very few of them, but I'd meet you there in a heartbeat. Okay. That would be fun. Dublin, if you're listening.
Awesome. Well, so just stick around. We're going to do a formal goodbye once I end the stream. But everybody, thank you for tuning in. If you're catching this on the replay, let us know. Comment down below some of your favorite moments from tonight. This was a lot of fun. It was just we were able to be flies on the wall, and I knew that that's what was going to happen. So just thank you for letting us be like that. So we'll be back soon. And until then, there's one thing you have to do, and that is keep being fans of Jeanette and Xander.